In this video, I will be comparing the off-road capability of the Mammoth Squaddie and the Dundreary Landstalker XL through a bunch of different off-road tests, starting with the approach and departure test. This test is scored by testing the incline that the cars can go up without making contact with the ground. Each ramp degree is shown on screen.
One more time. We're gonna celebrate, oh yeah, alright, don't stop the dancing. One more time, we're gonna celebrate, oh yeah, alright, don't stop the dancing. One more time, we're gonna celebrate, oh yeah, alright, don't stop the dancing. One more time, we're gonna celebrate, oh yeah, one more time.
Even though the Squaddie looks to have a lot more clearance than the Landstalker, this is simply not the case. But the Squaddie still gets the point. Now it's time for the water test. Both cars will drive through the water using the handbrake launch with the back tyres next to the end of the arrow. The one that makes it through the most or furthest wins. The Landstalker didn't have the power or the traction to get through the second obstacle, so the Squaddie takes the point. The main reason the Squaddie won is unlike all other cars in GTA, the snorkel actually works, which pushes the air intake higher, so therefore you can go through deeper water. Now it's time for the breakover test. This is scored by having both cars drive through the arrows and seeing how many times they bottom out. Lowest score wins.
When the night has come and the land is dark and the moon is the only light we'll see. No, I won't be afraid. Oh, I won't be afraid. Just as long as you stand by me. So darling, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Stand by me. It's the sky that we look upon should tumble and fall, or the mountain should crumble. I won't cry, no I won't shed a tear, just as long as you stand by me. And darling, stand by me.
The Landstalker did quite well considering its ground clearance and long wheelbase. However, the Squaddie still gets the point. The next test is suspension travel. This is scored by having both vehicles drive up this track and seeing how many times their wheels lift up. Lowest score wins.
Here's a little song I wrote. You might want to sing it note for note. Don't worry, be happy. In every life we have some trouble, but when you worry you make it double. Don't worry, be happy. Don't worry, be happy now. Don't worry, be happy. Don't worry, be happy. Don't worry, be happy. Don't worry, be happy. Ain't got no place to lay your head. Somebody came and took your bed. Don't worry, be happy.
Neither of them did great on this section, but surprisingly the Landstalker receives its first point. Now it's time for the drag race. I don't think I need to say how this is scored, but we both use the handbrake launch and go when the grenade explodes.
So stay on track and don't look back. Just feel the pace. Come on now, race! Everybody supersonic racing. Try to keep your feet right on the ground when you're supersonic racing.
The Squaddie just managed to win the drag race. Now it's time for the braking test. This is scored by having both vehicles go down the ramp as slow as possible without touching the brakes, and when they hit the black and green mark on the ramp, full braking. The car that stops the quickest wins. The Landstalker just managed to win the braking test. Next up is the axle twister test. This is scored by seeing how far each car can go up. Furthest car wins.
When the day is dawning on a Texas Sunday morning, how I long to be there with Marie who's waiting for me there. Every lonely city where I hang my hat ain't as half as pretty as where my baby's at. Is this the way to Amarillo? Every night I've been hugging my pillow, dreaming dreams of Amarillo, and sweet Marie who waits for me. Show me the way to Amarillo. I've been weeping like a willow, crying over Amarillo, and sweet Marie who waits for me. Sha-la-la-la-la-la-la-la, sha-la-la-la-la-la-la, sha-la-la-la-la-la-la, and Marie who waits for me. there's a church bell ringing. Hear the song of joy that it's singing for the sweet Maria and the guy who's coming to see her. Just beyond the highway, there's an open plain, and it keeps me going.
The Landstalker struggled with ground clearance, so the Squaddie takes the point. Now it's time for the power test. Both cars will start up alongside the bottom block and using the handbrake launch, drive forward. The one that gets the furthest up wins.
Give it up, gonna be alright.
The Landstalker has less power than the Squaddie, so the Squaddie receives the point. Now it's time for the drivetrain test. This will be scored by having each car drive up these ramps with different elevation levels. The car that gets the furthest wins.
On a warm summer's evening, on a train bound for nowhere, I met up with a gambler. We were both too tired to sleep, so we took turns of staring out the window at the darkness till boredom overtook us, and he began to speak. He said, "Son, I've made a life out of reading people's faces, knowing what the cards were by the way they held their eyes. So if you don't mind my saying, I can see you're out of aces. For a taste of your whiskey, I'll give you some advice." So I handed him my bottle, and he drank down my last swallow. Then he bummed a cigarette and asked me for a light, and the night got deathly quiet, and his face lost all expression. Said, "If you're gonna play the game, boy, you gotta learn to play it right. You got to know when to hold up, know when to fold up, know when to walk away, and know when to run. You never count your money when you're sitting at the table. There'll be time enough for counting when the dealing's done." Every gambler knows that the secret to surviving is knowing what to throw away, knowing what to keep. 'Cause every hand's a winner and every hand's a loser, and the best that you can hope for is to die in your sleep. And when he finished speaking, he turned back toward the window, crushed out his cigarette, faded off to sleep. And somewhere in the darkness, the gambler, he broke even. But in his final words, I found an ace that I could keep. You got to know when to hold up, know when to fold up, know when to walk away, know when to run. You never count your money when you're sitting at the table. There'll be time enough for counting when the dealing's done. You got to know when to hold up, when to hold up, know when to fold up, know when to walk away, and know when to run. You never count your money when you're sitting at the table. There'll be time enough for counting when the dealing's done. You got to know when to hold up, know when to fold up, know when to walk away, and know when to run. You never count your money when you're sitting at the table. There'll be time enough for counting when the deal is done.
So then, what's my verdict on these cars? Should you avoid them, consider them, shortlist them, or just buy them? Well, I think you should shortlist the Squaddie. It's an okay car for the money with good off-road capability and power, and very good customization. And for the Landstalker, I think you should avoid it. For the money, it's not worth it at all, and you can just buy a Granger, which is a lot cheaper and very similar.